Okay, so good afternoon. Make my cameras right. We'll get going in just a second. Hope everyone had a good weekend. Just to update on the stocks that I'm holding, I'm still sitting in Viacom. The stock doesn't really want to move much, but there is a dividend play there. So long term, I love it. Like every analyst on the planet has it in there. To those that are just watching, I have sometimes talk about the stocks that I'm buying. It's not advice, it's just walking you through the process that I may go through. We'll talk a little bit about financial literacy again today, though, too. So I'm sitting on that. It's been in this 38 to 42 stock price range for, I don't know, 4 or 5 months now. At some point, something will happen. I like this stock a lot. It's in my portfolio. So I hope everyone had a really good weekend. Good afternoon, Elizabeth. Mary, good afternoon. I did have somebody text me and say, how come I didn't respond to some of the comments? Just to load, we are live. It's 4:03 p.m. right now. So if you're watching this and it's not 4:03 p.m., I cannot see your comment. So if you watch this at night or later on, yes, I'm talking and interacting with people in real time, but it doesn't mean that I can hear or see your comments. So only live will I be able to respond. I can go back afterwards and comment back. If you ask a question, I can comment back later. But if you're looking to interact in real time, you'd have to do it live. We have people of different, technical abilities, what have you, when they see me. And so if you're scrolling through at 10 o'clock at night and you happen to see me talking, doesn't mean it's necessarily live. So for the record, if you need to know, it's 4:04 p.m. The first thing I want to talk about as we start off the new week is some of you have been watching the financial literacy page that I started. I'll make the disclaimer that it's not advice on any particular stocks to buy. What it is just getting people used to talking finance. And I talk about it a lot on this podcast. There are so many books that talk about where to invest, but there's very few books and discussions that talk about how to begin saving and the mental process of saving money. And so in the last, what I'm going to start doing is posting financial things, financial articles, tips, but every week a goal. If you're just starting from the very beginning, you've not saved a dime, you're looking to say, where do I start? A goal each week, even if it's tiny. And so the goal for the first week was to save $10. That's not take $10 and put it somewhere. That's in the course of your day, in the course of shopping, of buying food, of buying gas, of whatever it is, find a way of your normal expenditures to save back enough to save $10. And the purpose of that isn't, again, to take money and just set it aside. It's to start the process of begin thinking before we spend money. I do this, right? So people know that I tend to work out at local places, either Starbucks or Hornet's Nest or the Parthenon or a variety of different places. And I have a decision to make. I almost always have food at home, but I can eat out for $10 or $11, or I can go home. That's a savings. That's a decision. I almost always make the wrong decision, by the way. Most people almost always make the wrong decision. We make the impulse decision. So I ask myself this: how much will making the right decision impact me a half hour after I make it? Like, will I be hurt in any way, form if I go home instead of eat out and save that money? Generally, the answer is no. Will I be hurt in any way, shape, or form if I got a cheeseburger without the fries and saved $3? Generally, no. If we can get in the habit of starting to ask ourselves, why am I spending this extra money, even a couple bucks at a time, and taking our budget and cutting back just $10, we could often do that in a day. We can start saving that money and setting it aside. And our view of money will change. We'll start thinking twice about expending it. We've worked hard for it, thinking twice about expending it. The reason I'm so passionate about this, now yesterday we had a little picnic at Indian Neck Day. It was a little gray, not a huge turnout, but one of the conversations turned to financial literacy. And we see politician after politician talk about, people are struggling and people are living paycheck to paycheck. And 90% of people can't afford a $400 emergency bill if it came up. I've never seen a politician say, hey, guys, save. Hey, guys, open a mutual fund. Hey, guys, fill your Roth in this year. I've never seen a politician say that. It's not helpful for politicians to save money. They want you to spend it. They want money out there in the system that helps the economy. And it's good to do that, but we have to get to a point where we start saving as well. The earlier we do that, the better. I posted last week, and it's an amazing thing, and you could do this yourself. If you Google investment calculator and find a calculator, and there's a ton of them online, just play this game. Start at whatever age you want, but I started at 0, right? Your baby is first born, was no money, and their parents put $10 a week away for that child, $520 a year, $10 a week. If that happens through 18 or 22, 23 through college, that child continues that process. Now, remember something, 10, 15, 20 years from now, $10 is nothing. With inflation, that's worth less and less every time. Saving $10 is like today saving 3 or 4 in the future. If they kept that up to retirement, they'd have $1.9 million investing it in the stock market. Getting ahead is not as hard as we make it seem. But the great equalizer is financial literacy. The stock market doesn't care what color you are. It doesn't care what sex you are. It doesn't care how old you are. It'll take your money. And be smart with it. Be conservative in some places. Be aggressive in others. Have some in cash. All these things we'll talk about. But start with saving $10 and get to a point that we put money away. We can complain about government. We can complain about system. We can say the system's rigged. All we want. But unless we know the rules of the system, unless we're saving and taking advantage of the system, it's hard to make that complaint. It's like, playing Monopoly with someone and complaining that you can never win, but never knowing the rules. Well, yeah. If we're not taught the rules, we don't know the rules. And the rules start, in this case, with just learning how to save money. That's it. Learning how to save $10. Maybe next week we talk about saving $20. In the next few weeks, I'll talk about some apps you can put on your cell phone where you can save that money. They can invest it for you, and you could choose if you want to be aggressive or if you want to be conservative or what level you're happy based on your age. But we don't hear politicians talk about saving money. We don't have schools pushing financial literacy the right way. We don't have people talking about from a young age, it's time to save money, to take 10% of everything you make. I've seen kids work the summer and make $3,000 or $4,000. And I'll say, man, if they were to save half of that for 4 or 5 summers, what a great start when they get out of college. They don't save it. And so that's not part of what we push politically. We complain about the system. It's all rigged. The rich are getting richer. What smart people say is, wait a minute. If the rich are getting richer, I want to know how. If they're getting ahead, if they're getting money from the stock market, if they're getting dividends, I want to know how to do that. It takes a little bit of sacrifice, but not as much as you think. And if you could start saving at a very young age and teach our kids, everybody you talk to that's over 55 or 60 years old will tell you, if you're from the area, back when they were in school, New Haven Savings Bank used to come into the schools. And there'd be a little bank book. And they'd put in their quarter or 50 cents or whatever it was. And they would watch, and it would be minimal, but watch that interest grow. That sticks with you. That stays with you as a kid. And if you could start appreciating that at 5, 6, 7, 8 years old and start that process, imagine what jump you'd have in life when you're 22 and getting out of college, or 19 and starting your career. It's hard to complain then that we can't get ahead because you've got this huge stool that you can step on because you have a basic financial understanding. Know how to save money. Think twice before spending money. Know how to take a certain percentage and set it aside and don't touch it. You don't need all those things that you think you need. And your life's not going to be significantly different by saving those 10%. Branford Christmas Savings Clubs. I don't know what those were, Chris, but sounds like a good idea. The plan for me is we're going to push more financial literacy as part of Branford 7 and Atticus News. We'll put some of these more posts on there, start that discussion. In the next, probably not until we're really back from COVID completely, but start doing in-person financial literacy classes. And I've talked to some financial firms in the area. They'll be joining me on that and teaching some of those classes. But for different age groups, clearly, saving $10 a week is helpful at any age, but if you're starting at 50, it's kind of hard to get where you want to go. So all those concepts need to be taught, but we really want to start at a young age. And all these conversations we're having about masks and all these things about going back to school, I'd much rather they be about, we want financial literacy in our schools. We want kids learning from the time they're in kindergarten to start saving money. Because I tell you this, you could take somebody from any economic bracket, and they start saving money at a young age. Even if we said for a second, the kid learned it, but the parents didn't. So the parents are terrible with money, but a child goes to school. And over a summer, he cuts some lawns and he cuts grass or what have you, and he starts saving some money. He turns 15, legal age to work, and he starts saving some money. Coming from anywhere, you can start getting ahead. It doesn't take a massive sacrifice. This idea that I hear all the time is, the rich are getting richer and the system is rigged. The system's not rigged. The system helps those that know how to save, don't spend frivolously, work hard, save, and invest. Work hard, save, and invest. Every grandparent you've talked to that got ahead told you they got up every day at the same hour. They went to work every day. They didn't miss. They got ahead, they saved, they invested. Every union member that built this country, the unions in the 60s and 70s that built the country, how do they get ahead? Their retirement funds. They don't even know what's in them, but they know that a percentage of what they made that was negotiated went towards those retirement funds, went towards those pensions. That gave them the security they needed. That's what built it. And in today's economy, where it's a gig economy and people are not working for other people, and to a large extent, we have to learn, and our kids have to learn, how to begin saving money and think twice before spending it. If we can teach that, we can get ahead. So the goal for this week, if you want to join in, is this week save $10. Don't put $10 away. In the course of spending money, in the course of buying things throughout the day, in the course of getting your coffee, so instead of a latte, you get regular coffee. Get one less shot. I don't know, what are shots? $1, $1.50? That over the course of the week is your $10. For gas, go a little cheaper place instead of the more expensive place. Eat home instead of eating out. All these small, tiny decisions over the course of the week decide how you can save $10. And that'll get you thinking before you spend. When you're at the deli counter, you may say, let's not get chips. And if we could start that process as adults, we can instill it in kids as well. Okay, let's get to the politics and that kind of stuff. So over the weekend, this is Brantford. If you're not from Brantford, you may or may not be interested in this. We'll be talking about the Tabor and Ecology Park. I have covered politics in Brantford for about 13 years now. And I love Brantford. It was just kind of happenstance that I ended up here. I moved here from West Haven when a lot was changing in my life. And I found a place in Brantford and moved to Brantford. And it has been one of the best places I could have moved. I am grateful every day that I ended up in Brantford. I have spectacular friends here, a life here. And it's an amazing town. It's a town where you can do, and I say this all the time, if you are of any economic bracket, you get access to beaches and country clubs. I mean, not for nothing. Can you find a place where you can, for $10 at a food truck and $5 or $6 for a drink, go sit at a country club at the Onego on a Friday night for $15? It's an amazing place to be. We have parks like crazy and trails all over the place and things happening on the green. It's a great town to live in. We have our issues, but it's an amazing place to live. In every election season, challengers get to this point where they have to try to trash the town, where they have to say it's a well-run town, so it's hard to do sometimes. But if there's nothing specific to run on, they begin inventing things. And they fake this anger of, our town is just as terrible, and it's awful, and it's disgusting, and it's dirty, and you get to say to someone, then go somewhere else. Why are you trashing your own town? I never understood that. I don't understand why we trash our own country. We could talk about issues in our country without trashing our country. So far we have Jamie Cosgrove's been first selectman for 8 years. And if you're in a world that is about online social media debates, you're never going to see Jamie Cosgrove in online social media debates. That's not completely unusual. Unctor Ross was never, although Unctor Ross was more because he didn't know how. Like, he wasn't a social media guy or a tech guy at all. I rarely see Scanlon. I see him post online, but I never see him engage in online debates. I never see him put out propaganda. I've never seen him do that. I see him put out informative things. I've interviewed him during storms. I see him put out things on the airport. Those are different positions. But Jamie Cosgrove will put out notices. He will never engage in the normal political back and forth nonsense. That doesn't mean his opponents aren't going to do so. And so there's a reason he ran unopposed 2 years ago, because it wasn't worth running against him. He's running now, and what we're seeing against a very, very unfortunate candidate. But he put out one video already about the Tabor property. We went to a section of the Tabor property that was not open to the public, and he showed logs that were left there and some stuff that was left over there from projects in town. For example, some of the leftover construction debris from the firehouse that was done during DeRoss was brought to that property. Now, he left out of his little video that those logs were from people's homes that were left there after storms that the town removed for them. But that wasn't helpful politically. He left out the solar farm that was there. He left out a lot of the context that belongs there. And that being said, there's nothing wrong. Every town has a place where they store stuff that they have to store. So over the weekend, he posted a new video, which is on the Ecology Park. If you're not familiar with Ecology Park is the former landfill. And when DeRoss was in office, there was a plan to cap the landfill. And there were significant discussions on what to do with that property. One of the significant issues was when you have a place that's that high, yes, a beautiful lookout. You have spectacular views. Everybody wanted to take advantage of those views. But the police had issues with policing up there. If you make it a public space, you have to have handicapped access. To have handicapped access, you have to create a road. If you create a road, how do you create a road that only handicapped people will use and not use for the general public? So the thought process was we'll only put 2 handicapped spots up there. It was a nice try. It really didn't work. And since then, and all the neighbors will tell you, it's become a place for teenagers to do basically what teenagers do. Teenagers go up there, drugs, vandalism, what have you. Police, unlike most of our parks, so Foot Park or Hammer Field or Vets Park or Branford Point, a police car can drive by and get a sense of what's going in, right? I mean, if you go to Foot Park and wait at the back corner, I guess you can hide. But in general, if there's kids linger about, the police can see that. The top of the hill, they can't. It's not an easy access to it. So it's tougher for police to get up there. And so therefore, it's become a place for kids that are, I don't want to say kids getting in trouble, but kids doing what kids do, teenagers doing what teenagers do to go up there. And that became a source of discomfort for the neighborhood, whether it's noise or leftover paraphernalia or, all hours or what have you. And so, and increased vandalism that we couldn't keep up with. So the decision was made from the Parks Department and from the first selectman or whatever the process was to close the park. Maybe not forever, maybe forever, who knows? But for the time being, to end the problem, close the park. So you have a candidate then running for office who decides, listen, how do I run against Jamie Cosgrove? We have all this green space, all this new parks, all these new things happening. We have $28 million in the bank or surplus. We have a new school. We have a new senior center. How do you run against this? And so people sit in a room and they say, we have to come up with stuff to attack the guy in office because we have to get him out. And as I've said before, the people behind Brockett are not Branford people. They're the leader of the Democratic Party has lived here for 2 years. He's a political operative. He works for the Senate Democrats. He's from New Haven. The idea of beating a Jamie Cosgrove would be a massive feather in his career. He has that motive. We get it. Brockett, I'm not sure what Brockett is, because Brockett's yet to make sense on anything he said. So I'm not sure he retired, wanted to run. I don't know. I don't get it. But everybody likes to run. Last time Jamie ran unopposed, I'm sure the Democrats wanted somebody to run this time. But you're going to get nasty. And so they put out a video with Brockett on the Ecology Park. And they show a picture of a bench that is knocked over, apparently had some rust on it. He said, this is just awful and terrible. Can you believe this? And the road, which is a steep hill, a dirt road, which was not meant for the general public, was only for handicapped access for legal reasons, is eroding. Yes, a dirt road on a hill is going to erode. You have a catch-22. If you pave the road, it makes it easier for people to use and encourages use, which we don't want to do. But it's still a dirt road, which erodes. And that's life. The whole point is that, in general, people walk up and not drive up. He then shows a sign that was defaced. When I'm in office, we're going to open this park from dawn till dusk, and we're going to clean this up, and this is going to be a jewel for the town of Brantford. So first of all, you don't know the history of the park. It was always going to be an iffy proposition from day one. Two, nobody wants that park open from dawn till dusk because you have the problems we just discussed. So if your proposal is to open it from dawn till dusk, then you also have to include a guard for it and more security for it and more public works and parks staff for it, because there's no way to see it and manage it and keep it secure like every other park we have in town. Brockett left out whatever plan for that is. So if you're going to have a guard from dawn till dusk, 7 days a week, you're probably talking 2 to 3 positions. I would say between 150 and 225 added to the budget to do that plan. Nobody really wants that. By the way, there's no fields up there. It's just a hill. It's like that Sound of Music hill where she sings this, the hills are alive nonsense. My mother had me watch that movie so many times. In any event, so this video comes out and it's like, one, there's a bunch of questions, but the first question is, this is what you're running on? You're running on a graffiti and a sign and a bench that's fallen over. That's what you're running on? You want to keep a park open, but you have no plan for staffing that park. You haven't told us the cost yet to staff that park. And apparently you didn't know that the neighbors don't want it open. Never mind from dawn till dusk. Because unlike all the other parks, this is a very real residential area. There's some fetish the Brantford Democratic Town Committee has for Tabor in that area. There's something weird for whether it came Unk in taking the property, which was illegal and we paid the price, $20 million for, or Unk then pushing public works there, or now Brockett now pushing some study at Tabor, and now he's pushing to open this from dawn to dusk. There's a weird fetish that the Democratic Town Committee, not Democrats in general, the Democratic Town Committee have for this neighborhood. It's odd. They keep going back to this neighborhood. For Christ's sake, propose something somewhere else. Why do you keep going back to this neighborhood? What's amazing about this neighborhood is the access road to the neighborhood is going to be underwater in 10 or 15 years. Tabor Drive is going to be underwater in 10 or 15 years. Yet for some reason, the Brantford Democratic Town Committee keeps making proposals about more stuff in this area. It's a weird, like, what the hell? But as I watched the video, a couple things jumped out at me. One, Mr. Brockett went into a park that was closed. You're not supposed to go in there. It's the reason there's a gate. So you went into a closed park. Not supposed to, broke the rule, whatever. You, instead of just going into a closed park, you went and got friends and political people to come in with cameras with you to your closed park. Again, you're doing something you're not supposed to do. Then you're taking more people in to do something you weren't supposed to do. Then you videotape yourself doing something you're not supposed to do, walking up the trail. You're not supposed to, you're not supposed to be in this park. Then you take pictures of vandalized sign and a bench that's knocked over. Congratulations on that. That's not hard. Of a park that's not open. And you know what? I'm kind of glad to see that, because I don't want our resources in town being spent managing parks that aren't open. I'd rather you keep Foot Park clean. I'd rather you pave roads. I'd rather you put your resources elsewhere, not a park that's closed. So far, Mr. Brockett has showed you video of Tabor Drive and Ecology Park, 2 places that are not open to the public, and said they're not clean. Well, no shit, Sherlock. They're not open to the public. So you broke the rules. You got other people to break the rules. You videotaped yourself breaking the rules. Then you took the video of yourself breaking the rules, put it all over social media. Oh, and by the way, Mr. Brockett, just a reminder, you're a lawyer. You're a lawyer breaking the rules, videotaping yourself breaking the rules, and then taking that video and putting it all over social media. What kind of lawyer are you? You're a lawyer who doesn't understand personal responsibility, doesn't understand that if somebody goes in there where they're not supposed to and breaks their leg, the town's getting sued? You're the first lawyer in history that doesn't understand this? This is crazy. You're a lawyer? I'm dumbfounded watching this, I'm sorry, moron post videos over and over again that they make absolutely no sense. And here's what happens, by the way, because after the Black Lives Matter rally, somebody went into Foot Park and vandalized the benches with Black Lives Matter stuff. Here's what happens in that circumstance. I walk through. Oh, there's vandalism on the benches. I call Alex Paluzzi, the head of Parks and Rec. Say, Alex, there's vandalism on the benches. He says, oh, okay, we'll take care of it. And I hang up the phone. That's it. That's what happens. Vandalism happens. People damage things. That happens. Now, I wouldn't be walking through Ecology Park because it's closed. It's not open to the public. It's a problem. It's a safety issue because there's no way to secure for police to go up to the area to make sure what's going on top of that thing. We figured that out. We've kept it closed until we have some solution for it. Your solution for it is to open it up more hours. And Mr. Brockett, if you had an issue with the park that you're not supposed to be in, you could have picked up the phone, talked to Alex Paluzzi and said, hey, there's some vandalism in the park. And Alex probably would have said, hey, maybe we'll get to it, but it's not an open park, so we're not going to go crazy. And if you really wanted to, you could have called Jamie Cosgrove and said, hey, Jamie Cosgrove, there's some vandalism in the park. And he would have said, no, we'll try to get to it, but we have other priorities in town. We have other parks we want to keep ready. We're paving a bunch of roads. We'll get to that if we get some chance, but we may not want to be in there because we're not open. I don't know if it's Brockett making decisions, if it's Kevin Coughlin, the kid from New Haven who's making the decisions. I've talked to some people in that campaign, and I want to shake my head. I've talked to some people who know them, and I don't know what's going on. But one, can you stop making proposals for the Tabor area? The neighbors are sick of this. They dealt with Public Works with Uncle Ross. Jamie ended that, and now you're getting proposal after proposal from Brockett on the Tabor area. Pick another area of town. The neighbors don't want to be bothered anymore. What part of this is hard? I know Wayne Cook was proposed. I know you're jumping on the Wayne Cook proposals. I know Tom Brockett and Wayne Cook are proposing studies at Tabor and all this other stuff. They want to attack Jamie. Knock yourself out if you want to jump in bed. Some person who came on Facebook the other day and was arguing with me was a mouthpiece for Brockett at one of the Board of Finance meetings. Just we completely in agreement with Wayne Cook. Listen, if Brockett and Wayne Cook want to jump in bed together, knock yourself out. If that's where the Democrats want to get their ideas from, go for it. Good luck with that. But stop making proposals for the Tabor area. Nobody in the area wants anything going on there. Ecology Park we'll figure out at some point, but it's impossible to secure. It just is. It's one means of egress. Kids are going up there and doing things kids shouldn't be doing. It's like the quarry was years ago. So we closed it. Rather than having liability, something a lawyer should know about, we closed it. So these nonsensical videos, and I get that you're after the uninformed, right? And people who are in Branford are informed and have watched the last 8 years, especially those that have watched the last 12 to 16 years that saw what was happening before Cosgrove got in office. If you've seen the last 14 to 16 years in Branford, you're very likely a Cosgrove voter. You saw what he cleaned up. You saw the Tabor lawsuits cleaned up. You saw schools that weren't getting built get built. You saw a senior center that sat there forever and got nowhere. Nonsense. Mika, I'll read this comment in a second. All right, so Mika, you have a long comment here, so I'm just going to read it live. I don't have it on the whole thing. Hi, Steve. I was at Ecology when he arrived with his film crew. He had a film crew, so it wasn't like a guy. He had a film crew. He walked by me and simply asked who was walking who regarding my two dogs. All right, that was just a nice conversation. But he did not introduce himself. He did not take the time to speak with someone who actually is at Ecology. Listen, he did not seek out answers or input from those of us. Look, he could have called Jamie Cosgrove. He could have called Alex Paluzzi. In fact, I know he spent time with Alex Paluzzi, so he could have had a real conversation about this. It's not. listen, guys, this is the way politics is run. We get it. It's a game. I get that you have to paint a picture of your opponent. In this case, you're trying to paint a picture of somebody that the whole town knows. If you've been in town past the last 8 years, you know what Jamie Fix. Let me tell you something about Cosgrove. He didn't want to run for office. Both parties wanted him to run on their ticket. When he didn't run as a Democrat, the Democrats were mad. And he didn't run for a Democrat because the Democrats are a little messed up in this town. I'm a registered Democrat. I'm a former member of the Democratic Town Committee. Let me tell you something. They're a little messed up. When Victor Costello was the chair, okay, not as much. They were fine. Carano, okay. Then it just got crazy. It's crazy. And when you win an election, you're not worried about facts or the truth. You're just worried about, I need to mislead as many people as I can to vote a certain way. The game plan for the Democrats is to say this. How do we get 2,000 to 3,000 Democrats who don't normally vote locally to blindly vote party line for this election? That's their plan. That's what they're going to try to do. I want to finish this comment, though. He cared about us. He was simply a man on a mission. But that's what politics is. I don't want to knock the guy for what I'm knocking him for telling things that are not true and honest. It is intellectually dishonest to not tell the whole story. It is intellectually dishonest to try to attack. By the way, you're not even attacking Cosgrove. You're attacking Alex Paluzzi. This is the cleanliness of the park. That's something Alex Paluzzi handles. So you're going after Cosgrove for Paluzzi not doing his job. And I would tell you, Paluzzi, I don't want you doing a job in a closed park. I want you focused on open parks. Parks and Rec instructs us to walk up because they can't keep the gates open because of vandalism. They can't keep the gates. There's vandalism inside too. Neighbors have tried to man the gate at closing, had their house vandalized for closing. Wait, say this again. Individuals have had their house vandalized for closing the gate. Mika, I'd like more information on that. Well, Ecology Park is, anybody can walk in anywhere, right? It's impossible. I can walk in Foot Park, and I do walk in Foot Park when the gate is closed. Ecology Park, it's not on the town website. We keep the gate closed. And because it's further down the road, it's not necessarily visible from the street. It has helped people who drive by who want to go up to stop going up there. We have less kids. You're not going to eliminate all kids going up there. I would like to know more about a house being vandalized for closing the gate. I'm wondering what that is. I guess maybe kids were upset or what have you, but let me know more about that. You can message me or post it here. That's fine. But listen, I don't know. Tom Brockett, I've had a few quick conversations with, always seem fine. I'm commenting on his actions as an elected official and as a candidate for higher office. His actions as an RTM member have not been honorable. They've been statements that have been dishonest and misleading. So far, we have videos that are dishonest and misleading, where you can easily solve the problems he's talking about. Problems in a town happen. There's always going to be vandalism. There's always going to be something wrong. We solve those problems. And if you want to fix them, you go and you call the first selectman, you call Alex, and you solve them. Doing a video in a park you're not supposed to be in, bringing other people in that aren't supposed to be there, videotaping it, putting it all over the planet, and all you really had was a bench was over and a sign was vandalized. If you're talking about erosion on a dirt road, I'm sorry, physics? If we pave it, we encourage people to go up. We don't want to do that. So you want to keep this open from dawn till dusk, and where's the money for the security for that? Like, nothing is thought out. Nothing makes sense here. And for Christ's sake, stop targeting the Tabor area. Put something at Branford Hill or talk about a proposal. Do something. Give us some platform. That's fine. I'd love to analyze an actual platform instead of completely uninformed nonsense that you're putting out. It makes no sense. Give us a real platform to analyze. Give me real proposals. And we can analyze it. Now, granted, Cosgrove's still probably the better candidate because he has 8 years of really a phenomenal track record. Find a town that got a school done and a senior center and a firehouse in Indian Neck and all the infrastructure things we've done while still having $28 million in the bank, still keeping the mill rate lower than our neighbors. Find that anywhere. It's hard to do. And I get the situation you're in. But this is just absolutely crazy. Bill Canosa, maybe he needs a copy of my photo. If you didn't see the photo on Brantford 7 we post, it's actually really, really good. It's the last post before this video on Brantford 7. All right, we'll wrap it up for today. And listen, if they want to respond, they can respond. One of his surrogates came on, and I'm wrong, and it was a rusted bench, and I called them names and all this other stuff. And it's the Vic. They always do that. It's like, oh, you're not being fair. Okay. But you're running for office and you're trying to manipulate people's thoughts. I've never seen Cosgrove put out something false. Let me know if you have. Talk to other candidates. Let me know if they have. I've never seen it. I get accused every election season of being a mouthpiece for somebody. I've been accused of being a mouthpiece for Sean Scanlon. I was accused of being a mouthpiece for Adam Greenberg in the past for Christine Cohen. I was accused last year of being a mouthpiece for Robin Comey. I'm a mouthpiece for the people who get attacked without merit. If you have something to say or bring out about your opponent that's true, okay. That's true. Fair game. No question. But if you're making up stuff about Scanlon or Cohen or Comey or Cosgrove or whoever it is, we have a bunch of C's. Cohen, Comey, Cosgrove. I don't care what party they are. The job of the press is supposed to be to make sure the facts are out there and to analyze the information coming out from these candidates. Cosgrove runs on his record. He just does, always has. It's a good record. By any stretch of the imagination, it's a good record. When attacks went against Cohen, I was there. When attacks went against Ed Meyer, I was there to make sure, and I wrote an article saying this is wrong, this isn't fair. When I was against Greenberg, I wrote an article saying the same thing. When Riccio was attacking Comey falsely, we talked about that on the podcast. That's what my job is. In every election season, you're the mouthpiece for this guy, you're the mouthpiece for this person. Okay, that's fine. But in this case, we have a candidate running a town well. Don't take how well Brantford is run for granted. It's not easy to do. And I remember what it was like in DeRoss's final couple years. DeRoss was a good guy, and he had a really good first 6 years. I don't know what happened the second time. But I remember the nonstop fights at meetings, the nonstop lawsuits, the nonstop arguments, the proposals for senior swap that didn't make sense, the proposal for the public works at Tabor, which didn't make sense. I remember all living it every single day. Cosgrove fixed that. Don't take that for granted. Okay, that'll wrap us up for now. We'll be back tomorrow at 4. Oh, we went to 4:40. I'm sorry. I started ranting a little bit. Sorry about that. We'll resume this back tomorrow at 4:40. Until then, I hope all of you have a phenomenal night. I'll talk to you soon.